The subject of today's talk is the joy of learning. So as you can see, it is a very vast subject, very tricky subject, it's very difficult to teach. It's easy to derive some equations and prove that left hand side equal to right hand side. But this is very difficult. So I have threaded it in a particular way. So whatever is useful to you, whatever is relevant to you, you can take it, and whatever is not relevant, you need not worry about them. Okay? So I will follow the sequence. So I will just first define learning, then we look at goals of learning, types of learning, qualities of a good learner. Then I want to discuss something called the don't know square problem, and then the role of stress and hard work in learning. Then we look at this 10,000 hours rule by Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate. Then the Medawar zone, then the theory of flow. I don't know whether you have been exposed to the theory of flow by Mihaly, Zix and Mihaly. Okay, and then emotional intelligence, and then we'll end the lecture with some inspiring quotes. The Wikipedia defines learning as the act of acquiring new or modifying and reinforcing existing knowledge, behaviors, skills, values or preferences, and may involve synthesizing different types of information. Professor Sternberg from Yale University, he has developed some theories of creativity. He has written also a book on triarchic theory of intelligence. So he says there are three types of intelligence. First is analytic intelligence, then intelligence, and the third is a practical intelligence. Okay, so this analytic intelligence is what we all the time in institutes like IITs and IIMs we teach you that. Basically, this whole MBA or mechanical engineering is subdivided into 4 years or whatever, 2 years or whatever stuff, and then each semester or trimester or quarter or whatever, these are the subjects, and then you will learn, you will have a definite set of, you will have acquired a certain set of skills, and then once you have done all this, then you're good to go. Okay. But the basic problem is we are trying to do the divide and conquer policy. I don't know whether there is any, for example, a dissertation or a thesis or a project is the only place where we are testing the synthesis of knowledge. Whatever you have acquired in various courses, whether you are able to apply to a design, you are able to model something or propose a new hypothesis, or you are able to take some data and do some data analysis, you are able to do a field experiment, whatever in your social sciences and so on. Okay, so the synthesizing of information is something which is that's where a lot of people think, a lot of people fail. For example, you can do exceedingly well in all the courses, but you should be able to see what is a common thread running through all this. Why am I doing all this? At the end of the day, for example, I talk about heat transfer equipment. At the end of the day, you should be able to design a heat transfer equipment. You should not have, if somebody says I want you to design, we should not go back and ask 100 questions. So the whole thing is how to live with uncertainty, how to live with limited information, how do you proceed, how do you take business decisions, how do you take technical decisions based on limited information. Therein lies the skill. Everything will not be given to us on a platter. Life is not a question paper. The classroom is far removed from reality. No one will say you should not refer to your friend's notes, you should not talk to your friend. Okay, you have only 3 hours time. So that's why sometimes I always say that the classroom doesn't imitate reality. I will keep on telling this to my BTech students also. So the classroom is far removed, but for in a limited period of time when you are under stress, how you perform under stress and all that, whether your toughness and elasticity will increase, we are trying different types of things and so on. But what you have to understand is the whole idea of this learning is basically at some point we should be able to synthesize information. Okay, yeah, this works. So learning has a hierarchical set of goals. First, learning to gain skills including social and interpersonal skills and knowledge. Otherwise, everything can be made online. Okay, there is also peer learning. You also learn from each other. There is a lot of learning outside the classroom. Okay, sometimes there may be more learning outside the classroom than what is going on inside. Okay, and also you should be able to develop these interpersonal skills. That is also very, very important, because after all, we live in a society. We can't do things in isolation. And particularly when you people are going to the industry, there is a team leader, then there is a project manager, and everything business is divided into verticals. So you have to cooperate. So as Prof. L.S. Ganesh frequently says, you have to learn to compete and cooperate, no? Okay, co-opetition, that's what they say. Co-opetition is a new buzzword. That people have already researched on this. Learning to acquire a qualification, that's okay, but that is if you want to get an MBA, for somebody wants to get a BTech, somebody wants to get an MTech, that is not a bad goal, but that is not the ultimate goal. Learning for the intrinsic joy of knowing the unknown. Okay, sometimes you get a kick, you get a thrill by trying to see whether I have progressed compared to yesterday. Do I know more compared to Monday morning, Friday evening? Am I better? Do I know more things? And finally, UNESCO also says this: we should learn to learn. The key aspect of learning is you should learn to learn and become a lifelong learner. So at the same time, as a teacher, the goal of teaching, for example, I feel is the goal of teaching is we should teach at such a level that we should become unnecessary. Progressively. A teacher should teach in such a way that you progressively become unnecessary. Without you, the students should be able to learn. The dependence must be removed. The dependence must be removed. So this is what Narayanamurthy called, Dr. Narayanamurthy, Mr. Maybe he got a PhD somewhere, DSc. He calls it as learnability. So the learning to learn is a very important aspect of very important or the highest goal of learning. So, and we have to be so long as we live, we have to learn. Okay. Types of learning. Animals gain knowledge in two ways. They gather information about their environment and then use this environment. You touch a hot object. We see this all the time, how the monkeys behave. I mean, now it has learned how to open the Aquafina bottle. It can open it, it can drink from Tetra Pak, it can do all that. So what it has not done, it has not started registering. Okay. Because it's an IIT monkey, it may get a good grade also, we don't know. Okay, if it is ABCD, it can randomly type. Okay, you can randomly press something. Okay. So they gather information about environment, use this information. Okay. So you touch a hot object, it's hot, I should not touch. Okay. So you learn like this. See, this is what is called as the possession of innate knowledge. For example, a fish can swim immediately on birth. Okay, there is something, it is genetically programmed. We have this knowledge inbuilt or inherent, it is innate in us. The first one is innate knowledge, but the second one is basically what you learn. Okay, what you learn on the fly, what you learn throughout, dynamically what you learn. Okay, so which one is better? In a static world, innate knowledge is sufficient to survive, flourish and procreate. In a static world in which things are not changing very fast. Whatever our ancestors did, we also do the same thing and pass on, it will go on endlessly. Okay, but in a dynamically changing environment, innate knowledge is not sufficient for the above. What you consider as great, your set of skills will become useless after 20 years. You have to constantly train, retrain and one update and all that. Otherwise people will not, I mean, for example, the problem which I solved for my PhD, 92 to 95, now, years back, somebody can solve it within 1 month or 2 months. That doesn't mean that my PhD must be removed. But what at that point in time, it was considered an important, considered difficult. It has to become like that. It has to become like that. Therefore, it is very important that we always learn and learn to learn. Okay. Learning then becomes an absolute necessity. There is no escape. There is no escape from learning. Learning doesn't stop, and for people like us, learning never stops. Every time we go to the class, we have to be on our toes. So some of my BTech students are also there. I just finished a high level radiation class with them. They're full of math. Okay. They are always ready to ask why. Okay. Alright. Qualities of a good learner. We should have curiosity. Okay. Some of these I have adapted from Martin Seligman. You know Martin Seligman? Martin Seligman is a professor of psychology and is one of the proponents of what is called the positive psychology. Okay. Without making summary assessment of Western psychology, a large part of Western psychology or psychotherapy, for example, has looked at sick people and how to treat sick people. Okay, so Seligman was one of the first proponents of saying, why always look at sick people? Let us look at people who are healthy and what are the things they are doing so that they are healthy, so that we don't have to really treat. We can prevent rather than cure. Okay, so there are a lot of obviously. You got his well established field, he is taking on a big group, so many established psychologists. Obviously you can look up the internet, you can look at Science Direct and some people will say they will not agree with. He has a simple equation, right? Happiness equal to whatever you have inherited from your parents plus whatever is your circumstances plus whatever your contribution. So he says it is A plus B plus C and some other psychology professors, how can Martin Seligman do this, blah blah, but what he's trying to say is there are some things which we cannot change. But there are some things which we can change, it is under our control. So our happiness cannot be just left to fate. It is possible for you to change your destiny and this happiness will increase as you are progressively becoming more useful to others. Okay, Seneca said to live is to be useful to others. Seneca always says something in very terse and laconic language. He says if you want to know a pilot in a flight, you normally will not know. you will get to know a pilot in storm, going through a storm, right? Then you will understand the importance of a pilot. Okay, so this curiosity. So coming back, so this is some of the things are from Martin Seligman. Curiosity is very, very important. We want to find out. We want to find out why it is like this. Why it is like this. That curiosity is this. Curiosity should be lifelong. Diligence and hard work. I don't have to. This can never be overemphasized or overstated. So we look at it more carefully a little later. And we should not be daunted by fear of failure. Once we start working, failure is assured. The only way by which you don't fail is you don't do anything at all. But you don't accomplish anything at all. That way, right? Therefore, when you want to make some progress, you will make some mistakes, you will fall, you will trip, whatever. But we will have to correct ourselves and we have to keep on going. Because when you learn cycling, you will fall first. Okay? When the first time somebody is pushed to the swimming pool, he has got that morbid fear of drowning and death and all that. But you will have to overcome, otherwise you will never learn swimming. Okay? So, these are some of the qualities of a good learner. We must recognize that learning is not always fun. Okay? Why, sir? That question arises. Because if tomorrow is an exam, don't worry about fun and all. You have to do that learning today. First of all, it's a bad idea to study before the exam. Given that situation, at least the day before the exam, we'll have to study. So this is very clearly stated in the ancient scriptures. That is called the prayas and shreyas. Prayas means what is pleasant. Shreyas means what is good. What is pleasant may not be good, and what is good need not be pleasant. If it is good and pleasant, very well, it's fine. But basically, we should concentrate on what is good rather than what is pleasant. So, in the Kathopanishads, one of the ancient scriptures, in the second chapter, the first verse, it says, the good is one thing, the pleasant is another thing. Both of these serving different needs, they bind a man. Okay? It goes well with him who of the two takes the good, but loses he the goal, who chooses the pleasant. Okay? This you may say, oh, you are talking about old things, 3000 years old, what is the proof and all that. Even your Western psychologists are talking like this. Let us look at Professor Walter Mischel, okay, of the Stanford University, the famous Stanford marshmallow experiments. You know the marshmallow experiments? He gave marshmallows to children. So if you hold on, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. If you hold on for a longer time, I'll give you 3 marshmallows, 4 marshmallows. But if you can't hold immediately you want, I'll give you 1 marshmallow. Okay. So, and he tracked all these people over the next 20 years, their SAT scores, how they have done well, their interpersonal behavior, what they have done in their life. Years and years of work he did on this. And he found out that those people who waited, I don't want the marshmallow, I will wait, those people have eventually succeeded in life. So this is the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment. So he calls it as delayed gratification. If you are able to delay the gratification, you are having excellent cognitive and emotional self-control. Then if you are having excellent cognitive and emotional self-control, you will not choose the prayas, but you will choose the shreyas. The choice is always available to you. If you look at life itself is a set of choices. You have a choice not to come to this class. You have a choice to sleep in this class. At any point of time, your evening 5 o'clock, there are multiple ways in which you can spend your time. How you exercise your choices, what is your value system is something which is left to you. And your progress, your output will be f of x1, x2, x3, x4, where all these are these variables. Okay? So if your value system is right, I don't know what is right, again somebody can question your freedom and all that. Let us say that there is an accepted value system. You will choose this set of possibilities. Okay? Now, you should have having and asking lot of questions, we have already seen that. First we should have love of learning. You should just love learning, that is very important. Okay, first we should have love. Okay? Oh, I have to come, go to the class, and what is the same thing that professor will say, and class is so suffocating, and I mean if you start with the drooping shoulders, okay, I mean we cannot see that excitement and enthusiasm to come. There should be when you are going to office, there should be motivation to get up and go to work. Like that, as a student, there should be a motivation to get up and go to class, because every time I go to the class, I get, even if it is a very bad prof, for example, okay, so you will get a few points, which will be much better. You start learning on your own on the internet, it is not the same, okay, because you are also in a group, you are able to discuss after the class and so on, and you should have some open-mindedness in this learning. Okay, I like only this style, I like only this book, I like only this kind of teachers, I don't like teachers who will ask students to get up in the class and answer. You have an open mind, okay, and you should be committed to sharing knowledge with others, okay. This goes fundamentally against the IIT principle of RG. Huh? How many of you don't know what this RG is? Okay. So in 1982, we started the relative grading system, okay. The relative grading system was RG, okay. Originally when the relative grading system started, so it is basically all the students can conspire and bring down the class average, okay, they can bring down the class average or they can increase the class average, whatever you stuff. These toppers initially, first years, it seems the other students will just lock them in their hostel room so that they don't come and take the quiz. Okay. So that is the worst form. So now what has happened in IIT, this RG has become ARGG, or you can call it as RG, it has become a verb. That means RGU means the RGU is, for example, there is a test tomorrow, okay. So you have studied everything, okay. 6 o'clock he calls you and says, can you please tell me this? Then he says, I also don't know this, I want to study. I am also trying to ask some other friend. This is classic act of RGing, okay. Alright. Right. So, but we should not RG, right? So, that is a problem, that is a bane of the relative grading system, but the idea of a relative grading system was different. We thought that 61 to 62, 63 all mean the same. So, 62 and 70 should be one grade, 70 to 80 should be one grade and 80 to, but they thought that relative grading, see IIT students are very smart, no? They worked on the system and how to beat the system and how we, but if you have to be a good learner, you should be committed to sharing knowledge with others. And also you have to approach learning with a sense of humility. You can never learn something which you think you already know. If you think you already know, if you think already the class is useless, you will not learn anything. You should, apart from open-mindedness, you should approach learning with a sense of humility. Then we have to be self-driven, self-motivated and ready to do a lot of self-study. Always it is not possible to get spoon-fed. We will have to put in our work. Okay. Actually when you sit with your paper and pencil or in front of a computer or in your lab, there are so many things which you will learn. So the dependence on somebody who always has to lecture or who always has to expound or who always has to profess will not be there, okay. The don't know square problem, okay. So the don't know square problem is a fundamental problem in learning. What is don't know square? Don't know into don't know to the power of 2, okay. Many of us don't know that we don't know. Okay. So the idea of education is to make you know that you don't know. If we make you know, if we teach in such a way that we make you know that you don't know, you will figure out how to know. Then finally you will know that you know. When you know that you know, you become a leader. Okay. But it requires considerable knowledge to figure out that you don't know. Okay. So it requires considerable knowledge. Otherwise you think that this thing, right? Otherwise you think you know everything. Otherwise you think you know everything. Therefore, the fundamental problem is the don't know square. So we want to break that to the power of 2, to make it don't know to the power of 1. As you learn more and more, you will know how many things you don't know. To know how many things you don't know, you have to learn a few things. And you can see how man in each of these subjects, there is so much body of knowledge already has been done by others. So that respect for fellow human beings, the respect for others in this field, the respect for other scientists or professors, whatever, or businessmen, leaders, all these things will improve. Okay. So the progress in knowledge with time and years, we start with don't knows to the power of 2. Then for example, if you are doing a directed learning, for example masters or PhD, where you have intense contact with your advisor, then this don't know, the square term will, the quadratic term will become a linear term. So don't know to the power of 2 will become don't know to the power of 1. Then lifelong learning, it will take lifelong learning for you to only know a few things. Of course, if you self-learning, some people are so inspired, they can be inspired without going through this process. So some of these Swamijis, all these people can come under that category, where straight away from don't know square they can go to know. Okay. So the whole idea is first, even a strict professor can make you understand what you don't know. Okay. So if you understand that you don't know, then you will, because you have a thirst for acquiring knowledge, you will figure out why you don't know, what you don't know, and you will try to know. Okay. Knowledge and ignorance. Okay. Thomas Sowell said it takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. Only a fool will think that he knows everything. There's no question of knowing everything. We don't know so many things. We just don't, just open any journal now, even psychology, whatever this organizational behavior, so many journals, so many things which you don't understand, which will make you insecure, which will make you sleepless, which will automatically make you become a better learner. The sheer explosion of knowledge which is taking place, the research, whatever, the explosion of knowledge and information and all this should make you more humble and make you a better learner. Role of stress in learning. Should you have stress? Of course, yes. The first thing is you should be discontent with your current state. If you are very, very unhappy with your present state, then nothing can be done. You will get into some depression, whatever. That is an extreme case. That is an asymptote to the problem. Let's not worry about that. If you are extremely happy also, you will become lazy. You will not achieve any progress. Okay. Therefore, progress in life is all about optimal disenchantment. You should have some optimal unhappiness about your current state of affairs. Whether it is financial, spiritual, moral, intellectual, learning, whatever. You say, no, I should do better. I should do better. There should be an internal resolve. You say, I should do better. It is not, I can push. I can push. That should be your state at which you are working. So, learning is, I am saying that learning is all about optimal restlessness. Your optimal restlessness about the current state of knowledge. I have to do more. You should not say I have already done much. If you have a feeling that already I am over the hill, nothing great will come out. So the key is to understand or believe that your best will come. So if you look at people like Subramaniam Chandrasekhar, even at the age of 80 or 83, he was working on relativity and all that. Till death they were working. Professor C. N. Rao is 80 plus, he is still working. So that there is no stopping to learning. Okay, so this optimal restlessness we should have, and we should never get the feeling that I already know. I mean, there are so many things which you don't know. Okay, that is very important. So eustress is required for bringing out the best in us. What is eustress? Is good stress. Therefore, you have to be optimally stressed. You have to be optimally stressed. Just like a professor must be optimally stressed before coming to every class, Sachin Tendulkar must be optimally stressed before opening the batting. Okay. Novak must be optimally stressed before Wimbledon final or Australian Open final. Okay, because that gives the focus. That gives the focus, right? So stress by itself is not stressful until it becomes distress. This is my own spin. Okay, so stress by itself is not stressful until it becomes distress. So eustress is good. Okay, this is the Yerkes-Dodson curve from the Journal of Comparative Neurology and Psychology. The Yerkes and Dodson were two biologists who did these experiments in 1908. They did some experiments on rats. They gave some electric shocks to rats and asked them to perform a certain set of functions. They started increasing the voltage, they give more and more shocks. They found out the performance of the rats to do some activity and they measured it. Then they came out with the theory, then they extended this theory to human behavior. So what they are saying is, if the rats are subjected to very low pressure, they are in a state of hypostress, their performance was not good at all. When the rats were subjected to severe pressure, they were under distress. Even before reaching distress, when they are in hyperstress, their performance was decreasing. But this D of performance by D of the pressure was increasing in certain parts of the curve. It reaches a maximum when you are in eustress. So this is the human function curve. So for you to any field, including your studies or whatever, or sports or what have you, so we have to be optimally stressed. We have to be in your eustress. But you will have to figure out what is your eustress. What is the level of eustress for? Okay, so you should be optimally stressed, but you should not do too much and then get into this. Okay, right. So some stress is required. Role of hard work. Oft repeated hard work is the key. Even so, this can never be overstated. Even if you say it 1,000 times, I cannot say that it is overstated. Still, it is understated because new evidence only confirms this more and more. Okay, so there is a 10,000 hour rule. What is this 10,000 hours rule? It takes approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice or study to master a skill or area of research. If you work on, for example, karate for 3 hours a day, it takes about 10 years to reach this 10,000 hours. If you do Bharatanatyam or Odissi or whatever, it will take that 3 hours of practice a day. It will become 10 years because the 10,000 hour rule seems to work. Okay, Now some will ask, how do you know this is correct? Okay, I'll answer this question. Okay, so if you take 8 years of 8 hours of work, full-time employment, assuming that people are working properly, then 5 years they will do this 10,000 hours. That's why many times we say for the level of associate professor, 5 years you must be a professor. 5 years is 5 years experience. Somehow it has come. Okay, then full-time study 5 years. Actually, it takes 5 years to get a master's. Okay, so some of these 10,000 hours falls in place. This is for research scholars. So if you spend 10 to 12 hours a day and if day is off, then if you do 3 to 4 years, then you will put in the 10,000. Actually, if you put in the 10,000 hours, suddenly things which are totally unclear to you will become so clear. Suddenly some window, something opens up. It comes not because suddenly you become a genius, because you just soaked yourself, you just spent so many hours. Okay, so this is by Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate. He says it takes 10,000 hours of extensive training to excel in anything. So one needs to put in 10,000 hours to be an expert in any field, whether it is research, art or sports. So the most comforting thing is, contrary to popular perception, genius is not very important. It is only the hard work which is important. So this sort of debunks the genius theory. So ultimately hard work alone matters, which means anyone can do it. Once you have a basic level of intelligence beyond a certain point, what matters is whether you are a 100 meters dash runner or whether you are a sprinter or you are a marathon runner. The people who have come out successful are those people who are marathon runners, who will run steadily. In a marathon, the first 100 meters or 1 or 2 kilometers don't matter at all. It is the last lap which really matters. The people who are able to sustain are the people who are going to be eventually successful. Hard work is the key. So science actually progresses through hard work, failures and frustrations. In a journal paper, nobody says I went to the chemistry lab, I broke my test tube 25 times and all this, because reviewers, editors, nobody has the patience to read all that. So when students read papers, they will think, how this fellow is a super stud, how introduction, literature survey, methodology, everything is nice. He also went through the pain, but he is not reporting. If you want to see this pain, please look up the biographies of people. That is the place, or you go and talk to them. So the problem is society attaches too much importance to success. Unfortunately, we also live in this society. Okay, so its importance or hard work is conditional upon some final success. Even as teachers, we make this mistake. We feel that if the student has not got marks, he has not worked. That correlation, how far it is true, we don't know. That is an assumption. It can be fatally incorrect assumption. Because exam alone as the only measure of learning outcome is we don't know. But why? Because you are too many people, we have no other way. There is no other way of testing so many people. Okay, so it takes time for success in achieving learning outcomes. So be at it. Don't get frustrated if you don't get a concept. Don't get frustrated if you are not doing well. Be at it. 10,000 hour rule. If you keep on soaking it, you will become a master in your field. So learning difficult concepts is also iterative and needs to be constantly worked upon. Eventually the elusive success knocks at your doors, whether it is in learning, whether it is in art, whether it is in sports, whether it is in research or in, you be constantly at it. Okay, constant dripping wears out a stone. There is a saying, no, by Epictetus. So if you constantly drip, even the hardest of stones will give up. Okay, will give in, whatever. The payoff versus difficulty in research problems. I will start from this research problem and then go to learning. So this is Sir Peter Medawar, who got a Nobel Prize in 1960 for medicine. Okay, so he said that research is the art of the soluble. This comes from Otto von Bismarck, the Prussian chancellor, who said that politics is the art of the possible. A politician can do only which is possible. Okay, because there are so many limitations. Because politics, research, all this is basically what I say is a constrained optimization problem. Okay, so we want to maximize or minimize, but there are so many constraints. You will have to work against these constraints. These constraints have to be respected. Okay, so he said, if you work on research problems, the return on investment in working on a research problem versus the difficulty level follows an inverted U curve. This is the Medawar curve. So if you work on very easy problems, the outcomes are, I want to solve a cubic equation. Anybody knows it. What is the big deal about it? So if you solve, okay, I will put some, I am sorry to say this example, since I am coming from mechanical engineering, I am going to put some Tulsi leaf in IC engine and see its performance. Yes, now, but now so many, it's dated. So many people have already done it. And I want to put Tulsi and find out what is the performance and what is the effect on the performance, what is the effect on the emission. Oil this oil, that oil, whatever. So that's run of the mill. Okay, so that we call it as epsilon delta improvement over existing knowledge. I am not saying it should not be done. First time when it was done, it is okay. Then otherwise, we call it as beaten to death problems. They are all beaten to death problems. Okay. So now the reviewer's blood pressure will go up if he sees that the effect of 5% of this linseed oil on diesel engine. Okay, you will draw some curves. So what? Who is going to make millions and millions of liters of linseed oil? So there are so many other, who will sell, apart from next to the petrol pump, you will have a linseed oil pump. So how do you make, so there are so many issues there, okay. Now, if you work on a very, very difficult problem, okay, that is your research problem is using the second law of thermodynamics, prove that God does not exist. We don't know whether we will be able to prove. Using entropy, prove that God does not exist. I mean, so that is suicide, no? Okay, we don't know whether we will be able to solve that problem. Okay, but now, if you ask the right questions, okay, so questions are of three types. Questions that are very trivial, questions that are very difficult, questions that are of the right difficulty. If you ask the questions of a right difficulty and in 3 to 5 years time you are able to get a reasonable answer, that should be your research problem. The outcome will be very good. Sir, what is my Medawar zone? I don't know. In your subject, you have to find out what your Medawar zone is. You have to find out where your Eustress is. You operate in your Eustress, you operate in your Medawar zone, you will do very well. Okay. Now, application to good learning. Keep on learning new stuff that is exciting and challenging. If you don't understand something, don't give it up. Try to take it up again and again. Just because it's difficult, don't try to drop a very difficult course. BTech students, please note. Okay. Challenge yourself, push your limits, okay, challenge your limits, avoid spending too much time on easy stuff. If you keep on putting peace, what is the use? Okay, where is the improvement? Okay, so you can apply this Medawar principle in all walks of life. We are very good at rationalizing our incompetence, we are very good at rationalizing our inabilities, rationalizing why we are not doing certain things and so on. But the thing is constantly shrug it off, break the shackles, okay, and push forward. This is from Tamil, so this is from Devaram, so it says that our hard work, it's my duty to keep serving. So it is your duty to keep learning, it is also my duty to keep learning, that is a dharma. So if you see, the same, it has got parallels in Bhagavad Gita also. If you look at the second chapter, sloka 47, Lord Krishna clearly says, to work alone you are entitled, never to its fruit. It doesn't mean that you have to write the exam and you will not get the grade. So, you write the exam, don't worry about the grade, but you have to do well. Okay, so never to its fruit. So then he says, oh, Krishna says we can be very lazy. No, he doesn't say that. So what he says is, neither let your motive be the fruit of action, nor your attachment be to non-action. He says you have to, just like the lotus on water, you will be unperturbed. We say nishkama karma. That means you don't worry about the results. Give in your best. Whatever you deserve, you will get. Whatever you deserve, you will get. The anxiety about the result should not hinder your performance. So long as you get it, fine. But how much have you learned? Have you become a better learner? Has this institute made you a better learner, lifelong learner? More important. Okay. Flow. Now let us look at a concept from psychology. Flow in, this is from psychology, this is this professor from the University of Chicago. So he is known for two things. He is known for his theory and for his notoriously unpronounceable name. In fact, there are beautiful, if you say Mihaly, if you put this and put pronunciation, people pronounce this name, it is available on YouTube. How to pronounce this professor's name? So it is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Okay. So he talked about flow. Flow is fully focused motivation. It is it represents single-minded focus and represents the ultimate in harnessing the emotions in the service of performance and learning. So let us try to look at this curve. Okay. So this is basically the curve proposed by Professor Mihaly based on years and years of study. Okay. The x-axis is the skills and the y-axis is the difficulty level or the challenge. Okay. So obviously you can see that if your skill level is very low and your challenge is very high, there will be a lot of anxiety. Clear? Now if your skill level is very high but the challenge is very low, okay, then it will lead to boredom. But if the skill is exactly balanced by the challenge, you will be in what is called flow, you will experience optimal happiness, there will be an optimal experience and so on. Okay. Let us consider a situation A. A is basically a 12-year-old boy or a 8-9-year-old boy who wants to learn tennis. Okay, he wants to learn tennis for example. So initially his skill level is very low, then the first day itself, if his coach asks him to play against a school champion or the Davis Club player for example, suddenly he will be put to a situation where the challenge level is so high, from A1 is automatically dramatically increases to A3, so he will be in terrible anxiety. So two things are possible. He will give up tennis forever. And then he will say tennis, just like some coach says, he pushes you into the swimming pool and you come out like this, then they say, Mama, from tomorrow I will never go to the swimming pool. But that is a preferred method for coaches, that is a different matter. Now this A3, so either he will not go to tennis at all, then he is no longer the subject of a discussion. But the other possibility is he can go and tell the coach, how do I play like him? Then the coach will say, if you have to play like him, please increase your skill level. So it takes time. So horizontally you go from A3 to A4. When he reaches A4, he is very, very happy. But the problem with this flow is you can't be happy for a long time because what you don't have, what you want is always more exciting than what you already have. I come again. What you want is always more exciting than what you already have. Okay, but that becomes past. You wanted to buy this mobile phone. Somebody has an Apple i6. One is not. Even are we going to be happy with i6? Apple will not allow you to be happy. He will come with 7, 8 days. So the computers, we say, computers become more and more advanced and the prices keep falling. So the question is, should you buy a computer or should you not buy a computer? Right? So then he will go horizontally from A3 to A4, and A4, his challenge is balanced by the skill, he will do exceedingly well. Then he may go again further to A5, he will get bored, A6, A7, right. Now A1, what happens is, the coach will just say, instead of asking him to play against the Davis Cup player, he will ask him to say, okay, this is the net, this is the court, this thing, blah blah. Then you play against the wall. He will play against the wall, he will volley and serve, he will learn everything with the wall. Then slowly his skill is increasing, he is able to anticipate, he can for forehand, backhand, everything he learns. So his skill goes from A1 to A2. If the coach after 3 months also says you play against the wall, he will say I am forgetting tennis, so from A3 A2 you will disappear from the scene. But the other possibility is at A2 you will say now I have sufficient skill, now I want to play with some other player. Now from A2 when he plays against some other player, automatically his challenge goes up to A4. Then he has a more complex experience because he is playing against a human being. When he is playing against a human being, the sheer unpredictability of the opponent's moves makes it more and more enjoyable. So his joy at A4 is considerably higher at A2. At A2 he was bored, at A4 he is considerably happy. Then he will not stop, then he will participate in the school team, then he will participate in the district team, then so the flow, you can go horizontally, you can keep going like this. Therefore always your skill must increase and it should balance the challenge, and then as the skill improves, the challenge goes, and then as you experience more and more complex experiences, which is out of your actions, then life will become more and more meaningful. This is particularly applicable to learning, and this is a very important source of creativity, how creativity improves. Okay. Later on he further subdivide this. If you subdivided this, if you look at his wiki page, this comes, if you put Mihaly, so this will be his wiki page. So this is the modified flow theory. He has added some more things. So this is the piece. Okay, your high skill level and low challenge, you want to relax, right? You want to relax. Then your skill level is high, this challenge is low, boredom. So first is low, from apathy, boredom, it goes to relaxation. Okay, or from worry it can become anxiety when you find the quizzes and this thing, everything are very tough. The going is very tough. You can go to this, but this thing is boredom and this thing is arousal. Okay, from and then right side is flow. So from control you can go to flow, from arousal you can go to flow, but this anxiety and relaxation are the worst two parts. We should avoid these two parts. Okay. The quintessence of flow theory is like this. Enjoyment appears at the boundary between boredom and anxiety. There is a thin dividing line between boredom and anxiety. Enjoyment appears at the boundary when the challenges are just balanced with the person's capacity to act. So you will experience a sense of timelessness. We have all done that in 9th standard or 10th standard when you solved an unknown riddle, when mother has kept Bonvita or Boost, you have just forgotten that. You have forgotten that you are a body. You have forgotten about the surroundings. You have forgotten about food. You can't go for an infinite amount of time in that, but we have all stayed in that flow channel in our lives. The challenge now is, if there is a theory which says all this, can we increase the amount of time in which we are in flow? So constantly challenge yourself, improve your skills and proportionately up the ante and make the challenges more and more exciting and difficult. Okay. So he goes on to say that if you are interested in something, you will focus on it, and if you focus attention on it, it is likely that you will become interested. I don't have interest is not correct. You start focusing, he says interest will come. Passion is not there. Passion always, there's always two schools. There's a passion school, there is a reason school. David Hume and all that, they are all the passion school. There are these rationalists. So reason always, passion can lead to world wars. Okay, so we are all, so passion has to be subservient to reason. Okay, reason or jnana is supreme. Okay, so first we have to pay attention, focus, be at it. Automatically you will become interested. Many of the things he says, many of the things which we say or complain that they are not interesting, is not because, it is not because of their intrinsic nature, because we did not take the trouble of paying attention to them. You start paying attention, even the most boring of subjects has something exciting in it. Then you will automatically get into your Eustress, you will automatically get into your flow channel, and you will figure out that it is it's basically your approach to it rather than the intrinsic nature of that subject itself. So it might be true that it is quality time that counts, but after a certain point he says, I want to spend quality time. I want to spend, what is this quality time? It is okay, everybody talks about that, I want to spend quality time. He says quality time is okay, but quantity time is more important. The amount of time you spend on something is very important. It is not the skills we actually have that determine how we feel, but the ones we think we have, that is more important. If you feel that you have the skills, you will acquire it. So how you feel is very, very important. Contrary to what we usually believe, moments like this, the best moments in our life are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times when you endlessly watch IPL matches. He says you take the ball and bat, play the worst cricket, but be active. That will give you more satisfaction than keep on watching this. So he says there is a difference between active and passive situations. Although such experience can also be enjoyable, the passive ones, if you have worked hard to attain, active situations, those situations will make you very happy. So the best moments occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits. Sometimes some derivation was just bothering you, something you are not getting, then after 2 days when you are taking a shower, suddenly you get it. So that you feel that you got the Nobel Prize. There is no reward, there is no this thing, there is nobody around, nobody is going to clap. It is just that sheer elation you get, no. That is that feeling of joy. How can we increase that? Okay, so when a body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile, that's where we experience true happiness, which comes from a sense of accomplishing a complex task. So optimal experience is thus something that we can make happen. For a child, it could be placing with trembling fingers the last block. When the child is putting up this plastic block, it is having a lot of anxiety, how high it can go. Okay, previously it was only this, now if it can go to this much height, it feels that it has a control over this. It feels elated. For a swimmer, it could be trying to beat his own record. For a violinist, it can be mastering an intricate musical passage which he could not do for many years. Okay, so for each person, there are thousands of opportunities, challenges to expand ourselves, where we constantly compare ourselves with the previous performance, and then are we able to better my past? Am I able to better my past? Am I progressing? Is my D of learning positive? That is a point. So it has also got parallels with the Gita, for Bhagavad Gita. For example, Mihaly says, it is when we act freely for the sake of action itself, rather than for ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were. So the only motive is the joy of finding out something, knowing something which we don't know. So it's same. Don't worry about the motives. To work alone, you are entitled. This was said some 2500 years back. Okay. Now, how do we know if we are in flow? are in a flow in this class, that means, how do I know if students are not in flow? If I am teaching, I will just look at the number of times students are looking at the watches. And I will sigma of the number of times X is looking at the watch into sum over all sigmas. I am not saying you are looking at the watch. So that is one thing. First thing of this flow is you will experience a timelessness. Oh, 50 minutes is gone, 3 minutes is gone. It can also happen in some movies, but sometimes the 3 hours can be so long for a movie. That means you are not enjoying it at all. Oh, when will this end? When will this end? Okay. So the timelessness is an important thing in flow. Okay. So I am putting the slide again. So it is a high degree of concentration and limited field of attention. There is a lack, you don't require, for example, you forget your food and all that, it may be mess, you are supposed to eat the dinner, but you have to go through the derivation. Something is not, some minus sign or some half or 2 is bothering you. The 2 is not going out of the equation. It happens to us in the classes also. Sometimes there is a minus something, we don't know, you try harder, it will come more and more. Because something we missed, right? So that timelessness is very important, balance between ability and challenge. You have a sense of personal control over the situation, you feel, yes, hey, you feel so good. Okay, then the activity is intrinsically rewarding. You don't require any validation or you don't require any validators outside. Nobody needs to appreciate you. You are happy on your own doing this. Okay. Next we go to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is another theory in psychology. It's developed by Salovey and Mayer. Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive emotions, to access and generate them so as to assist thought, understand emotions and emotional knowledge, and to reflectively regulate emotions so as to promote emotional and intellectual growth. Many people say, I am not in a mood, I am in a bad mood, I am not in a mood to study. Okay. Now there is a book called Mind Over Mood, you know. So a lot of theory, now people are saying that mind must be used to control mind, we overcome all the things. Mood will tell you many things. Mood will tell you it is rainy now, you should not go to class, you should not, okay, sleep for some more time. Okay, but we have to constantly challenge that. What does this emotional intelligence say? First is self-awareness, ability to recognize and understand personal moods and emotions and traits. First we have to understand ourselves. If you are very moody and all that, you have to find out what is the problem with it, how you can correct yourself, as well as their effect on others, how your mood affect others. Okay, so hallmarks are self-confidence, realistic self-assessment, and you should have a self-deprecating sense of humor. If somebody says something about you, immediately you get agitated, it means you have such a feeling of insecurity. You should be able to laugh at the mistakes of others, you should be able to laugh at your own mistakes. There should be a self-deprecating sense of humor. Okay, so now I will tell a joke. Okay, so if you think you know everything, you get a BTech degree. Okay, if you begin to doubt that you know anything at all, you get an MTech degree. Okay, if you are convinced that you don't know anything, you are also convinced that others also don't know anything, you get a PhD. Okay, if you are convinced that you don't know anything, you are convinced that others also don't know anything, and you are also convinced that in your whole lifetime nobody can ever find out that you don't know anything, then you are a prof. Okay, so I have said this joke in MTech class. So our IIT student, sir, one fellow said, you are having a doubt in joke also? Yes, go ahead. Sir, your theory is sir, you are wrong. They are very happy saying, okay, your theory. Why? Sir, I have registered, I am MTech student, sir. Yes, you are MTech student. This is MTech class. I don't have doubt, sir. I am convinced that I don't know anything. But next year IIT will give me only MTech. It will not give me PhD. Then your theory is wrong. I said, no. You are still thinking that I know. You can't find out that I also don't know, then you can get your PhD. Okay. So what happens is sometimes, now I am going to switching to joy. Sometimes if you say a joke like this, then suddenly, hey, what is Prof saying? What is Prof? They'll think, hey, he is also human and this thing, and then you should, getting back to the second law of thermodynamics, then you get back to your, okay. So I think we should not get wound up on this thing and nobody can make any comment on me. That is, I mean, so we should be an evolved person. We should continuously evolve. People can make jokes about you, you can make jokes about others, that's all okay, right? So that represents a certain stage in your growth. And Matthew Ricard, you know Matthew Ricard? He did his PhD in genetics, okay, Westerner, then he became a Buddhist monk. He became a Buddhist monk, he's about 69 years old, his talks are very, very popular, happiness. You just listen to happiness on YouTube with Matthew Ricard. He's about Matthew Richard, or I think it's Ricard. So he's now written a 1000-page book on altruism. Okay, so he is the official translator for Dalai Lama. Okay, so he knows you can't fool him. No, in Western this thing, in you are all Buddhist. You don't. He knows both. Okay, so they have. So what he has done is he has brought Buddhist monks to the West. They've done a lot of experiments. These Buddhist monks have done meditations for thousands and thousands of hours. They put them in an MRI machine, and then now there is something called functional MRI called fMRI. And he figured out that there is some particular type of radiation which is coming out of these Buddhist monks, which comes from years and years of practice, which he can relate it to well-being, goodness, peace of mind, happiness and all that. It's all published in top journals in psychology. And so the Buddhist monks subjected themselves to, because they have done thousands and thousands of hours of practice of meditation. And so he says, there is a possibility for change in any situation because all emotions are fleeting. So you take your decision based on emotion, be careful, think twice, thrice. Because all emotions are subject to change. What you consider as happy, tomorrow you will say that is unhappy. What you consider as unhappy today. Therefore, reason is very, very important. Don't be a slave to your emotions, particularly learning, whatever in life. So we should keep emotions at, they should be under control. Okay. Self-regulation, ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses. Okay. This is Daniel Goleman has written a whole book on destructive emotions. You're aware of this? The book is Destructive Emotions, Dialogues with the Dalai Lama. He and Dalai Lama discussed. He is also major working with emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman is one of the proponents of this emotional intelligence. So he has a dialogue with Dalai Lama.
My next session is on EI.
On EI, very good. Okay. So I should not talk now. Oh. Okay. No, fine. So emotional intelligence is Daniel Goleman has. He had dialogues with Dalai Lama. He says it's very important. Emotional self-control, regulation, awareness, all these are. So the propensity to suspend judgment before acting is very important. We immediately judge. No? We always want to give marks. We want to give marks to we all want to give marks to people. Oh, he is like this, he is like summary assessment. And we try to judge people based on limitations. There may be 20 good things, but one bad thing. We always focus on the bad thing. That may be true of us also. So the ability to suspend judgment, hallmarks are trustworthiness, integrity and openness to change. So the change must come from within. We should not try to change the world. We should try to change ourselves. We should control our emotions. If you are able to control our emotions, negative, disruptive emotions, we will be better learners. Okay. Internal motivation, a passion to work for internal reasons that go beyond money and status. An inner vision that is important. So money and status is not, I want to learn well. I want to learn new things. I want to learn many. I have an opportunity to learn so much with so many people. How many people can get into this room? How difficult was it? It was not easy path, no? But trespasses were not included into the MBA program, isn't it? So many are not privileged. How many people in India go to college first? How many people come to IIT? So then if you look at these basic questions, they'll say, I will not cut class at all. I will not sleep in the class. Pawan, is it okay? Okay. So I think it's such an opportunity. No, we should not miss it. It's such an opportunity to learn. We should not miss it. Okay. So strong drive to achieve. Optimism in the face of failure. Okay. Don't worry. Some quiz, something is not going. Doesn't matter. But we constantly work at it. We are running a marathon. There may be hurdles, but we keep running. Eventually we will succeed. And organizational commitment. Empathy, the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people. First, you have to understand the emotional makeup of other people. A skill in treating other people based on their emotional reaction. That is a higher order skill which we have to acquire. Expertise in building and retaining talent, service. This is particularly people who are coming from the industry background. You know that expertise in retaining talent, service to clients and customers. All these important. Okay. Now, social skills. Proficiency in managing relations and building networks, ability to find common ground and build rapport with people around you. Okay. Hallmarks are persuasiveness, you are able to persuade. You are an expert in building and leading teams. These are the people who will become leaders later on. Simple tips to being a good learner. Develop a great love for lifelong learning. Every experience in life is an opportunity for learning learning and growth. That learning is hidden by that. Okay. Never underestimate the difficulty of understanding a concept. So that means be humble. Okay, concepts can be humble. I know everything. Don't start with I know everything. That we say it is he is a know all types. Don't be a know all types. Never assume that you are a master of this subject, because that mastery will quickly evaporate. Because new things are constantly coming. Never take for granted one's enthusiasm. Please endeavor hard to retain boyish enthusiasm for learning throughout. The only way is basically retain this boyish enthusiasm over the years. Lifelong learner. So that it should never decay or degrade. That is your joy or your thirst or your curiosity to know new things. Approach learning with a sense of humility. So I told you we cannot learn what we think we already know. Always be open and willing to discuss with others. There is no secret, and we are not a secretive group and this thing. Knowledge is, and we should not, there is absolute no to hierarchy. Wherever knowledge is there, you seek, regardless of age, seniority, whatever. If somebody has some stuff, even though he is a junior or whatever, if he knows some stuff better, he is a stud, go and ask him, there is no problem, or her, no problem. It is applicable to us also. Okay. The overall picture. What is the overall picture? The human function curve. Try to be in Eustress in your learning period, in your when you are learning. Try to stay in the flow channel for as long as possible. So try to be in the Medawar zone. Take up those subjects or those things or experiments or theory or whatever which is giving the right difficulty this thing to you, and have this emotional, have this motivation, self-esteem, empathy, decision making, interpersonal awareness. Now keep your, okay. So we'll end the lecture with some inspiring quotes. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Benjamin Franklin. Learning never exhausts the mind. Leonardo da Vinci. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Okay. Leonardo da Vinci. I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship. Okay. If you know how to sail a ship, there is no problem. Right. Try to learn something about everything and everything about something. In fact, a PhD is you learn everything about nothing. but through this depth, you have the width, you have gone so deep that your ability to appreciate other things improves radically. Okay. In fact, in the Mundaka Upanishad, a question is asked, what is it by knowing which I will know everything? There is nothing like, there is one equation or formula or unified field theory which was never figured out. What it means is, if you are so focused, when you are prepared, see, sometimes you have seen when you are extremely focused, when you are in resonance, then your ability to absorb, you can read pages and pages and pages, you can study more. Some days you will be spending 5 or 6 hours, that day your mind is not receptive. You got it? You got what I am saying? Okay. So that resonance, that this thing is very important. So when you go very deep, actually through your PhD or something, or when you go very deep, that sheer depth gives you the ability to appreciate. With any other thing you can appreciate, you can quickly appreciate. Okay. Same thing, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. This is from a Chinese proverb. I have never met a man so ignorant that I could not learn something from him. Everybody we meet superior to us in one way or the other. We have to find out what is the best in others and try to improve. So we learn not only in the class, we learn throughout. 24/7 we are learning. Change is the end result of all learning. Okay. Learning how to learn is life's most important skill. Okay. Live as if you were to die tomorrow, Gandhiji's immortal quote. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Learn as if you were to live forever. Okay. And the piece, the resistance is, Michelangelo at the age of 87, he says, I am still learning. 87 he said, I am still learning. Thank you very much. Questions? Correct.
But at the same time, sir, in the present, everything is goal oriented and planning oriented. But if I worry, then only I will do the planning.
Don't.
Or if I plan and I have to monitor it. If I don't have to worry, I may have to monitor it.
Worry is different. Worry is,
How do we?
you have to worry. But what I say, don't get anxious about the results. And You give your best, it will come. You give your best. So it's actually a very difficult concept, but if you practice, you will, see, if you see, for example, if you go to the West, for example, in Germany, for example, the professor will look extremely relaxed, but their output is so high. So if that constant anxiety about the goal should not make us restless and not give our 100%. That's what Lord Krishna is trying to tell us. You have your goal, everything. He's not saying don't have a goal and whatever. The worry about reaching the goal should not make you less efficient. You should do your best. I want to work for the goal, but every time thinking about the goal, he says you get lost in the work. If you deserve, that goal will be achieved. Please get lost. Please get immersed. Please have a sense of timelessness in what you do. That is the 2.47. Okay?
Discuss the joy of learning and the joy of teaching, the advent of all the internet and all that. They say it will eventually, the face-to-face learning and teaching would not hold water. Is that true or?
I'm not sure because I feel that online learning can only supplement, but it cannot supplant. Because if you see, contrary to what people are saying, in fact, everybody wants to do a project. Even school children want to come to IIT and do a project. They want one-on-one experience with the professor, and they also want to interact amongst others. You cannot everybody will become moron. You sit in front of the computer and just clear some exams. That is not life. No. What about interpersonal behavior, teamwork? What about peer learning? What about social skills? Everything will go down. Okay. So just like Google and Wikipedia, you can go there and get some doubts clarified. So it can supplement certain things, but it cannot completely replace. Because that experience will not be complete. With this. It is a useful tool. It's a useful add-on. It will help, but whether it will replace or not. But certain things which are repetitive, which don't require that, you can give it as online or whatever. But there will be, when you come to research where it is some supervision is required, then the teacher-student interaction has to be there. It cannot go. Yes, please.
So you said that genius alone does not matter. Hard work matters a lot more. But maybe can we say that genius might help you to probably put a little less of hard work, or you set the 10,000 rule. So if the person is good at something,
8,000,
You also mentioned about the innate function of the learning. For example, the newborn fish. So the newborn fish maybe need not put as much hard work as a person who does not know how to swim to learn that.
That is okay, but what I am saying is now if you see this 10,000 hour rule was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell. In his book called Outliers, where he has looked at Beatles, Mozart, he has even looked at Bill Gates. All these people have put in, even your A.R. Rahman. People say he's a genius. If you actually find out, he started learning keyboard at the age of 3. So it is the time which is the Satyanarayana, who is now a sensation in keyboard in Tamil Nadu. They have all from childhood they have learned. So that we don't know which is helping which. But basically genius also, if you are not able to spend time and all that, that will wear off. Okay, that's what I say also. Your IIT degree will wear off because other people are ready. How long will it will give you good initial conditions. It can give you good placement. But if you have to compete with marathon runners, you can't be a hare and turtle story. Okay, so if you are a genius, it will give you good initial conditions. So it's a God-given gift, but what are you doing with that? Your output can be much better. So we cannot just relax. Now there is no question of relaxing at all. Everybody is running. People are not having time. So I think that I am not saying we should fully debunk this genius theory, but what is reassuring for us is, if you have above average intelligence, if you keep on working, you will get it. Suddenly things which are so unclear, suddenly one day everything will become very clear. So we should look at the positive side of that. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I would say that the interest on a subject or art or sport, whatever it is, comes from the culture you have grown, or the interest that comes with the thing that you observed in your life or something. The interest or something. But you are saying that if you focus on an uninterested thing, you definitely get.
Not focus on anything, focus on anything.
Focus on anything, that's what. How it helps. Like if I focus on a thing that I was motivated in my life, I will be successful. How it says that.
No, that see, they have gone deeper and deeper and deeper. What we are saying is, don't complain that it is not interesting, not interesting. Something is good. Whether it is interesting or not, if you start focusing on it, you will start liking. That's what he was trying to say. So it's again Shreyas and Prayas. So after some time it becomes fuzzy, no, you don't know. I mean, we are going into that grey area now. What is motivation? Because motivation, what I like, because the problem with today you like, on Friday you will not like, the day after tomorrow you will not like. So what I like and like, everything, emotions are changing. So we have to anchor somewhere, no, what is the truth? What is unchanging is something, what is unchanging is something what is unchanging, he says that values like hard work, this thing and focus and all that. Because this like and dislike, what you liked when you were 10 years, you are not 20 years, and this basic idea of a passion drives, because your passion is in a function of time. So we will say that reason, greater good, unselfishness, you look at those things within your skill set which will help you grow and along this, which will become a lifelong learner, which you can serve others to choose that path. You quickly rise to the top and do what? How will you handle the rest of your life? Time also is problem, na? So they say that we should know how to handle failure. I will say it is more difficult to handle success. Many successful people have gone by the wayside because some of these ideas they have not used. So the basic problem is passion, emotion, I like, I dislike, I like. Are you sure that you will like something up to the end of your life? We are not sure. So we have to look at guidance from what other people have done, or you look at this thing, rationality, reason, greater good, so it is not illegal, immoral, not good for your health. I mean, so you consider all those things and proceed. It is better to, okay, some motivation. So obviously you have to make a choice. You want to do MBA, you could have done something else. So some choices, after that, after complaining, hey, this is not good, I don't want to say. What he is saying is, you start focusing, you will start liking your MBA, if you are not already. Yeah, any question from this side? Please.
Sir, Stanford marshmallow experiment. The experiment was actually conducted on kids, right? The children. So.
But kids were followed.
Yes, sir. So can we say that the delayed gratification, is that actually inborn, innate? Certain kids are like that, certain kids are not like that.
But if it is
Known that the delayed gratification, but
so the whole
idea of all these theories basically to help you.
if the marshmallow experiment is this thing, can you exercise self-control? So we should look at it innate, so it is innate, it's not innate in me, therefore I don't want to learn. There is no scope for improvement. Nah? It is, the experiment clearly proves, therefore if I am having immediately I don't rush, immediately I have to, as soon as I wake up I have to do the WhatsApp. Do internet ekadashi for 1 day. Internet fasting, 24 hours. Huh? They say that is required, more than regular ekadashi, internet ekadashi is required. Immediately, as soon as the plane lands, people all pocket phone, as if some nuclear explosion is taking place, nothing will happen. I have landed, all the people. What so what? Okay, you landed, what is, are you going to receive the Nobel? After 5 minutes, let it get parked. Everybody say landed. We also sometimes do landed, message. Okay? Yes, Srikanth.
So, throughout our life, are we surviving to learn or are we learning to survive?
Huh? Come again?
Are we surviving to learn?
We surviving.
Yes, to learn. Or are we learning to survive?
But are you learning to survive? You are already very healthy and you are well built and this. Survive in difficult environments. You are saying about whether you are. What are it?
It's throughout our life.
Learning not only to survive. No, we know how to survive. Learning to excel. We learn to excel. Okay, we want to better our best. And in that best, we have to see that after some time, some altruism must be there. The objective should be greater good and all that. If there are two paths, whether there will be only my interest and the greater good, so we should slowly veer towards greater good. Because if everybody thinks that I should be this thing, then it will be the story of king asking the people to put milk, and then everybody puts water. They say other people will put, and then the basic problem is not only the total thing is useless, but whoever has given milk, that milk also is wasted. Okay, so what is in it for me? I mean that is something which we should seriously question. Why should something be there for you every time? What if it is not there, but I want to do it because it is good to do it? It is good to be good and do good.
How do we start questioning and ask questions?
Curiosity. First we should have open mind, I think.
Open mind.
And we should become fearless. You can learn it from the students. So you don't worry about this thing, right? They don't worry about the Prof, they don't worry about the biodata. Sir, you're wrong. They don't, so we also like that. So sometimes outside you hear so many stories in papers about other colleges. That fearlessness is what will make you more and more curious. That ambience, we should create conditions such that any question you will ask, any question. So I also feel what I say is a professor should answer all questions, but all questions need not be answered immediately. I can take time, I can discuss, I can look at the internet, I can discuss other and get back. Okay, so but don't stop this questioning. So that irreverence is what we want to cherish, we want to keep it, that keeps IIT going. You should be fearless, continue to be fearless. There is no hierarchy in knowledge, there is no hierarchy whatever. Okay, so I am just teaching that my TA is also there, my PhD student Naresh is there. I am just teaching the third year student. They will just stop me. They will not allow me to proceed. No sir, no sir, no sir, no sir. So, and I feel thoroughly, I freak out. I enjoy all that. Those interruptions. Because they say you better teach properly. You better make it clear. That's the way you should demand. And the way you say it is you be polite and firm, but ask a funda question, okay? But don't try to say, no, I'll ask a question, see, he cannot answer. I mean, that should not be the goal is you want to learn, okay? The goal is you want to learn. Even if you do that, we don't mind. So I think you have to be fearless, you have to be fearless, you have to be curious. And then, in order to ask questions, you should also be sincere, right? You should also be sincere. You should have you should have the desire and strong urge to learn and learn it right. Therefore, till you get it right, but if you feel beyond a certain point, you feel that you're like embarrassing the Prof, you can go outside and ask. But you must ask. You must ask. If you have a doubt, it should be clarified. If it's not clarified in a place like this, where else will it be clarified? Yes.
Learning must be for our own happiness and our own satisfaction.
Also,
there is a conflict when there is a success or failure, because after all, success or failure is measured by others upon us.
Yeah. But success or failure, but that is also a function of time. Now, what do you consider? You do reasonably well, and then your success or failure, you have to set your own goals. You are looking at a limited this thing of just a college education and this thing, but your life is not in 2 years. You will become an alumnus. Okay, what I am saying is, don't allow your life such that all the targets are set by others. We can have targets for ourselves. After some time it will happen. Now you are in a situation you feel that you are somewhat helpless, where continuously it is measured by others. But after some time, when you are after 10 years or 15 years down the line, you will decide your own parameters. So then choose the right parameters, which will make you a lifelong learner. That's what I am saying.
You told a perfect amount of stress is required for high performance. So how do you measure our own individual stress level?
You can find out if you are too relaxed. For example, if I go to class without and I am under hyper stress, I know I am not doing well. And when I come out of the class, if I have not done well, I know today I have not prepared. So like that, if I am able to come out with, if I have my own set, I don't need to discuss with others. Nobody gives me marks or this thing. It is my own this thing. So you have your own self-assessment. You have your own self-assessment. And every time are you pushing your limits or are you tending to relax? And are you procrastinating? Tomorrow chalta hai, tomorrow what is this thing? I have to meet the Prof with this, Friday, tomorrow, Monday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that is one thing. And then restlessness coming out of that excitement, and that, I hope you get what I am saying. So if you have that, some optimal optimal number of butterflies in the stomach you should have, right? So that drives places, that actually drives your thirst for knowledge, correct? But you will have to figure out, but you should ensure that it doesn't go to, if you try to do 15 or 20 things, you may quickly go to the you want to do yoga, you want to do tennis, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to debate, you want to do well in studies, then you're not making the right choices. Then you will slip into the distress and hyper stress and so on. So you decide your comfort level. And others can find out if you're very irritable, you're putting down the phone, you're not talking properly, you're not even enjoying your free time. So they will observe changes in your behavior. Then you say, oh, I think I'm doing too many things. Okay, so others can also help you, your close friends. Yes.
Optimal stress means that there is an optimal fear.
No, optimal fear of me not reaching my own goals, my own expectations. Your fear, everything is internal, it's about your this thing. Okay, now you are a student, you have a fear, you have to do this, you have all that. But after some time, that student phase is only a passing phase. Optimal this thing, what I am saying is, something you should be unhappy about your current state. You want some progress. You want to learn something, you want to do something new. You don't want to be idle, you don't want to be static, you want to be dynamic. Okay? Yes.
Sure. Emotions are also part of human process.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Don't take
fatally irreversible decision based on those emotions. Don't take fatally irreversible decisions based on that. Give it a thought. Again and again that emotion comes, maybe discuss with others. What I'm saying is don't rush in decision making of irreversible decisions based on some emotion. Because that emotion to action, there is some time. Hold back. If you hold back, your response will be completely different. No, for example, you want to argue with somebody, you just hold back and you have serious difference of opinion. But you're already getting into argument, if you just step back and continue the argument, tomorrow you will be in a better state of mind, you will not use some words which otherwise you would have used. So, that self-control is basically the time period to let you to practice that restraint. Sometimes the word they become irresistible. That day you said no, that it will start there. The emotions are real, but what the emotions are not permanent. And we cannot become a slave to our emotions. Reason. Buddhi has supremacy over manas.
This applies even outside academia.
Yes, of course. Buddhi, reason. We are all here because of reason. Jnana. We have to constantly question. Because that emotion, why that emotion is coming? Emotion is coming because you have strong likes and dislikes. Why you have got strong likes and dislikes? Because there is a lot of selfishness associated with that.
You have to question yourself. Where is that this thing
coming? Why are we having strong likes and dislikes? Because there is a fundamental assumption that whatever I do, I am right, and whatever I don't see, others are not having the same qualities. This is not correct because there is a fundamentally, fatally flawed assumption that you are perfect. So you start examining, you will see the hollowness of many of hypotheses and how we just judge people with their limitations and leave out all their good qualities. But we are very harsh in judging others, but we are very lenient with ourselves. Yes?
You have been emphasizing on the joy of learning and to proceed into going the way of greater good since start.
The greater good is now the post discussion. I didn't. Okay.
You have taken the example of the Buddhists who were meditating for long run.
No, that is only one. That is a side story.
Yeah.
What your take on this is?
Yeah. My doubt on this is.
A doubt. Okay.
They have been meditating for thousands of hours, 10,000 of hours, right? So they are not learning anything and they are not giving any greater good. So, but
no, not great, any good. They are. Yes, please. Yeah. I know. I got the question. You can go.
What are they doing?
They are selfish people. They are going to Himalayas and okay. I got it. Finally, what the final thing is? It's a very good question. Finally, what Matthew Ricard says is, they have proved that if you do this meditation for 20 minutes a day, it gives 70 to 80% of the results which I got for so many years. So please do at least 20 minutes. So they are useful to you. Now I am proving with scientific evidence. Just do 20 minutes a day, it is useful. So somebody sitting for hours and hours and subject to FMR, right? They are good people. Therefore, they are saying that for 20 minutes itself, he says within 6 months you can see the difference. That's what I am trying to get. Okay? Because they are able to overcome their negative emotions. So what is it that they have done to overcome the negative? Because negative emotions cloud our decision making. we are not able to think clearly. Sometimes we can make incorrect decisions. So this 20 minutes, they are saying 20 minutes. You watch his TED talk, Matthew Ricard. Tonight itself you can watch on YouTube.